As the White House gears up for President Obama's speech tonight, they are confronting new headlines from legendary journalist Bob Woodward. In his new book, The Price of Politics, the man behind the Watergate scoops has an inside look at last year's showdown over the federal debt ceiling. ABC's John Carl has a first look, and John, it's not a pretty picture.
No, it is not, George. The book reveals distrust and dysfunction at the highest levels of government and an almost complete inability to deal with the nation's most pressing economic challenge.
It happened last summer after President Obama and Speaker of the House John Boehner secretly tried to strike a deal to rein in the national debt. In an exclusive interview with Diane Sawyer, Woodward said the stakes were much higher than almost anybody realized.
You talk about it as essentially the 44 days that were the equivalent, the financial equivalent of the Cuban Missile Crisis.
It's so serious that they couldn't tell the world how bad it was at the time.
In The Price of Politics, which will be published on September 11, Woodward writes that the two men were astonishingly close to actually getting it done. A mix of $4 trillion in spending cuts and tax increases. They negotiated over golf and on the White House's Truman balcony. But just as they closed in on the deal, Woodward writes, President Obama asked that more tax increases be included. For Boehner, that was a deal breaker. He wasn't going to get a damn dime more out of me, Boehner told Woodward. He knew how far out on a limb I was. At that point, Boehner didn't even bother to return the president's calls, instead telling reporters the talks were over. Only then did he call the president back. Boehner describes the call as angry, saying it was a, quote, presidential tirade, telling Woodward the president was spewing coals. I was pretty angry, the president told Woodward. There's no doubt I thought it was profoundly irresponsible at that stage not to call me back immediately and let me know what was going on.
To Woodward, the total breakdown of the talks reflected badly on everyone, especially the president. It was increasingly clear that no one was running Washington. That was trouble for everyone, but especially for Obama. The breakdown wasn't that surprising considering the almost complete lack of communication between the president and congressional Republicans. In fact, when Republicans won control of the House in 2010 and the president wanted to call John Boehner to congratulate him, nobody in the White House had his phone number.